am I pumped up for this one here tonight on Sportswire Radio. Our guest makes his long-awaited return to Sportswire Radio for the first time in over 7 months. And boy, has the landscape not only in XCW changed drastically, but the backyard and the underground wrestling circuit has changed drastically. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what appears to be the final target, the final act of this man's 28-year in-ring career spanning 4 decades, which has led him to not one, but 2 Hall of Fames, including this one. 11, that's right, 11 World Heavyweight Championships. Almost every single XCW thing there is out there, he's done it all. Extreme King, King of the Mountain, you throw it out there. He's done a Superstar of the Year. He was in their Hall of Fame, and this man has been doing this since 1996, and it all started with the powerbomb on concrete, and it's led him to, even in his final match, doing things that I don't even think guys that are in, 17, 18, 19 years old can do. This man truly is the Michael Jordan. I know he's wearing an Iverson jersey, but he is the Michael Jordan of our backyard and underground wrestling circuit. And boy, did a man that's always on this platform find that out once again firsthand. I'll certainly get to him. That was a real match for sure. We're really going to talk about that. But we're also going to talk about how did our guest feel in this last year since his return to the ring, you might want to say. And EBW, as EBW is officially no more, and we've seen EBW sort of go up, go down, go up, and now where it's had its final act. We'll also talk about maybe some gaming writing that our guest has done. He's been all over the place. PAX East, he's hanging out with some of the very best in the world of gaming. We'll definitely give you some Lords of Gaming information. We'll also talk about maybe what's next for our guest here. Does it include maybe a return to doing this? No false fish. Maybe tonight is about, since Sportswire Radio needs a host getting ready to step aside, maybe this is what tonight's about. Our guest is going to come here and take over and transition nicely. I mean, what a boy. I mean, Fletch would love that, by the way, because after all, we would get XCW nonstop coverage. Obviously, XCW's back on Sportswire. Everything's all good again, and our guest had a lot of things I've been preaching on this platform the last month or so, or positivity, unity, let's bring people together. So glad he said that, because he started the show not so positive with Justin Parsley, who, by the way, he's always in his usual mood. We'll get into that, but I'm excited about this, because this is a real treat. This is definitely one in prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage, a platform that this man, he built, giving his blood, sweat, and tears out there for the last 28 years. And I've got something for our guest tonight to honor everything he's done for the backyard and the underground wrestling circuit. I can assure you this will be a lot easier on him than the first time he started 28 years ago when he took that powerbomb on concrete. This one, though, however, will cement his decorated career in the backyard and the underground wrestling circuit. Boy, I've been waiting for this one for weeks, and it's time to give our guest that, let's just say, franchise player-like introduction. So, ladies and gentlemen, join me in giving a standing ovation for our guest here, Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, XCW Hall of Fame, 11 times a World Heavyweight Champion, 7 times an XCW Champion, 4 times an EBW champion, a man that arguably built one of the gold standards in the backyard of the underground wrestling circuit, 21 years, and they recently celebrated Fatal Fallout, a hugely successful show. Once again, I am talking about XCW, so let's give our guest that introduction we've all been waiting for. So with that, without further ado, here on the Sports Report. one. Sports Show. The man that many consider to be the franchise player, not only of XCW, but the backyard, the underground wrestling circuit. An 11-time world champion, 2-time Hall of Famer, the leader of EBW, the Michael Jordan of the backyard, the underground wrestling circuit. One of the men that sits on Mount Rushmore. His name is simply put, my friend, how are you?
Bruce Buffer, who needs a Bruce Buffer when you got Tom Bryce? I mean, what an introduction!
Well, I
10
mean,
times better than Bruce Buffer.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words. I've done about 172 at like 115 days. So at this point, I mean, I should just basically live on YouTube. I was even quoted, and Jack Delta did a live stream. Oh, I don't do these anymore because Sportswire is doing them. So thank you for that. But enough about that. It is so good to see you here finally back here on Sportswire. And it's been really a great last couple of weeks on Sportswire. XCW's been taking a front row seat on Sportswire. I'm so happy about that. We have more XCW coverage tomorrow. I'll get to that announcement later on. But first of all, how are you feeling literally after what I just watched your body go through against some guy named Justin Parsley?
Well, I definitely would be lying if I didn't say I'm in pain. Towards the end of the match, having to will my legs to, not feel like Jello after, the moonsault onto Rob Slater, Fletch, and Justin, and just try to get my ass back in the ring for the final spots. My right shoulder kind of hurts, but surprisingly, as much as both of us suffered, you think that we would hurt a lot worse. I haven't talked to Justin specifically about how he felt after the match, but just some of the stuff we did, like you've seen the chair shot, the unprotected chair shot I took to the head. If you're a wrestling fan, a long time ago, back in the 90s, Ken Shamrock, he wanted that real chair shot.
Yep.
So a little inside. I purposely went to my knees because I knew Justin was going to hit me in the back, and I wanted to take that chair shot. So I kind of Ken Shamrock and told him, you need to swing that motherfucker. And he did.
Well, Justin's been in quite a mood these past several months. I'll certainly, I'm sure, talk about that. But you did talk about going into that match, even that the physical condition that you were in. I mean, were you concerned even going into this match on what your body could do? Because, we've been going through this with you even since the ACT match. I was like, I don't know how this guy's going to do another match with ACT after it. But then you've wrestled even more since then. You've done a few more matches since. And I don't know how you were able to really do it with your body. And you even said it the first time you came here, the state your body was in. I mean, I just don't know. You really must be Superman.
Well, the big thing is a lot of people, when they step away from wrestling, whether it's a short break, a long break, permanently, a lot of people kind of get lackadaisical. They don't take care of their bodies, and I kind of felt into the same. It's the same group of people. After the spot with Jackson Law, Luke Blaze, and Fletch, where Luke Blaze's team won, I was outed as general manager. I was ready back then to retire, honestly. But the entire time I was gone, I'll be honest, it was nothing but eating, writing, and playing video games and working. So it wasn't really a lot of physical activity, to kind of, keep the body in shape. And I came back immediately. We'll get to talking about that shortly, but I came back immediately in that same type of condition, not stretching, not nothing, come back. And immediately I knew I had a match with Miano Diaz. I knew who I was wrestling way before I ever came back. Everybody.
Yeah, you kind
except
of
for Aaron Blaze.
Aaron
Blaze only surprised.
Yeah, you alluded to this.
But I came back and I just knew that I could work really well with Miano Diaz. And I'm like, I'll be fine. I'll get back in the groove, no problem. And I'm pretty sure when I gave Miano Diaz the Rough Rider, I didn't come down in the sitting position, which is the way it's kind of supposed to be. That's how it happens. And somehow my elbow smacked the ring, and I didn't know it. But there's a fluid sac in your elbow that actually it's in all of your joints, is what my work nurse said. And either I busted or ruptured it, not completely like it's still there, but I didn't like completely ruin it. But when people get like fluid on like their knees and stuff like that, it's because that fluid sac ruptured. And well, she didn't think it ruptured, but she thought it partially got inflamed. So like I had like a little a ball on it on my elbow, and after that match, you would see me wear that elbow sleeve for the rest of my matches the entire time. Yes. And then nothing Aaron Blaze did wrong. I went to the match with Aaron Blaze. That was the match that wasn't planned part of this return, but I went in the match with Aaron Blaze. I knew he had the experience on the outside. I had originally never planned on wrestling anybody from the outside just because I wasn't comfortable. I didn't know them that well, but I gave Aaron Blaze the opportunity. We wrestled. We had a great match, and I don't know what happened, but at some point I hit my shoulder and ended up with a minor tear in my rotary cuff on my right shoulder. So I pretty much from that on, the ACT match, the Hunter match, the Brady match, and Parsley, I pretty much wrestled injured. So.
Oof. I mean, all right, this is an interesting point. We'll get to the match. We'll get to some of that. But I had Levi McDaniel on here about a week and a half ago, and he was in the same situation as you, but worse, because he's basically now in the Paul Orndorff state. For those that don't know, he's got one shoulder that's smaller than his other shoulder, and it's to the point where we don't even know what he could do should he decide to come in and return into the ring, and that's his livelihood. He was pro, and he did some things overseas, and that's where his story is. But with you, I mean, were you concerned you could be seriously impacting, because you're still a young guy. I mean, you're a young guy. You're obviously very successful.
35.
Yeah, and also you're a very successful writer out there. You're very successful in the gaming world. Some might say that you might be in this circuit known as the Michael Jordan, but in the gaming world, you're very respected. You're very well known. Were you concerned that by even doing these matches that you could maybe severely jeopardize your life and maybe even what you do in the gaming world?
Well, every wrestler knows that's the risk you take when you get in the ring, whether you're pro on TV, you're on the indies, the backyard, mattress, whatever, any type of physical activity like that, you risk a lot. And especially the way that I wrestle, I always said if I wasn't allowed or could no longer do what I wanted to do, I would have just stopped then. So there was absolutely no way I was not going to come back and do the moonsaults. I didn't do the dives. I'll explain why I didn't do the dives. That's because, in wrestling, psychologists, the heels don't give the fans what they want, and you don't do the dives. The dives are for the good guys. However, when I wrestled Brady and Parsley, you got the dives. But
yeah,
just the chair shot, the power bomb on the sidewalk there towards the end was a callback to the power bomb on the concrete back in the day. Completely my idea. Justin originally wasn't okay with it. Completely my idea. And I just wanted to make sure I could leave it all out there. No regrets, no nothing. Go out the right way. And I think that's the way I did. Even though I wasn't 100%, I think the fans enjoyed every match that they got to see, to be honest.
And I think that you went out the right way because I think that XCW's had a really good string of shows. And I think that XCW has gotten a lot of good, I think, feedback, critically acclaimed with some of these shows. Extreme King, Fatal Fallout. So I feel like XCW is hitting its stride right now. So I feel like that we always say you want to go out on top. You want to go out where it's everybody remembers. They don't remember the athletes that on their worst. We talked about Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan once upon a time famously had it correct. 1998, the final shot, maybe the greatest way anybody could have retired. But, he came back and it was so-so. I mean, it wasn't great. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't 98. So in a way, I think maybe you're going out at the right time because XCW's had some really good shows. The viewership is up. Subs are up. People are feeling good again about XCW. We have a lot of XCW coverage here again. I mean, and also you've wrestled some of the best people you could have maybe potentially wanted to go wrestle. You talked about names recently this year. ACT. ACT was the world champion, the international champion, Hunter Halkin. Everybody outside of XCW even talks about Hunter Halkin. Brady Branson is a man that, boy, that was a bizarre storyline. You and him and the man Justin Parsley, who I feel like is now, I mean, you kind of alluded to, he's this traveler, but you were the first traveler. But the facts are, is he's probably in many ways the wrestler that's traveled the most this year, arguably in 2024. So you couldn't have went out better with those opponents really this year.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I'll let you on a little insight before I talk about that. Originally, my agreement was I was going to come back and wrestle. A lot of people don't know this. I was going to come back and wrestle Miana Diaz, which you got to see.
Yes,
ACT, which you got to see. Hunter Houken, which you got to see. But I was only having 4 matches originally, and that 4th person was supposed to be Jackson Law. But
and Jackson
that didn't happen.
Okay.
But that didn't happen simply for the fact is I'd been away from XCW. There was a lot of newer guys. So when me and Fletch got together, he's like, hey, I know you haven't been around. Here's some of the other guys that you might not know are here and I've forgotten about. And I already knew that we were going into the EBW story. That's the whole reason. I'll say the main reason I came back is because, to be honest, there's not an EBW without Chris Jones. But,
yeah, James Cerebral, newsflash, isn't going to be the leader of EBW.
But Brady Branson and Justin were on that list. And I'm like, if this is really, the last run, I think I could probably do something special with Justin at the very end and add Brady Branson. So instead of getting 4 matches, you're originally scheduled for 5, and then you get the extra sprinkle on top with Aaron Blaze because his storyline was never kind of set in stone. He almost was a little inside. He was almost a part of EBW at one point.
I know what the storyline was. I mean, we thought he was going to do it, and he didn't join EBW. So, yeah, that was, interesting. You wound up wrestling 2 guys like in Aaron Blaze and Justin Parsley who were like talked about religiously on this pod. They've become the religious name. So that's kind of the irony at the end of the day is that you wrestle 2 guys that have all this recognition, regardless of what you think of those 2 names. You still, that's pretty damn good. And 2 of almost 40% of your matches in your return were against guys that almost like darlings right now with the circuit.
And originally, I wanted to come back and only win 1 match. So with the original 4, I was only going to beat Miana Diaz because it kind of doesn't make sense to come back and lose the very first match. And we know we were bringing him into EBW.
Yep.
And I was elevating him to give him that opportunity to be the face, kind of to get him away from the tag team division, which he'd been with Patrick for pretty much since he debuted as a wrestler. And ultimately, we dropped Jackson, picked up other people. I left it up to Brady. What do you want to do? He's like, I feel storyline based. I feel this. I think you need to win. And ultimately it worked out because we had the returning Hayden to start his and Brady's thing. And then Parsley could have went either way. It was never fine. I talked about there's a chance I might change this in the middle of the match. So just be ready in case I flop on that. The one thing I knew for sure is the first person I wanted to beat me was ACT. When ACT won Extreme King, there was 2 options that year. It was ACT and Jay Ellis. And not knock Jay Ellis. I love Jay Ellis. Jay Ellis is awesome, great friend. But we had been waiting to pull the trigger on ACT for some time. And we went with we had the option to go with, he never was able to, get the job done. You look at everything he did, ultimately losing. He might win a match, but have to go against this person to defend chance for the world title and what have you, everything he did during that entire storyline. And we knew that it was going to culminate with, once we knew that EBW was coming back, we knew it was going to culminate with him being the first person to beat me in my return. And he did just that. He beat me in Full Metal Madness, which I'd never lost yet. So I wanted to elevate ACT as possible because at that point, he was one of the people that was there early, setting up, taking down. Even his girlfriend's there and the fiance now, sorry.
They always
there
take
the show,
photos.
taking pictures.
We see them in the background.
Helping set up the stage. Helped wintertime with the generator, stuff like that. So, the big thing about this run before we get into it was just giving people the shine that they deserved, as well as a little selfishly wanting to see if Chris Jones could still go, and I think we proved that.
I think you definitely still can go, and I definitely think that I don't know why anybody would doubt that Chris Jones can't go after what you've done for 28 years, but I think that we got to see some great matches, and regardless, there was some great opponents. ACT, obviously, the emotional story of him winning the world title over Brady Branson, and he had an unbelievable start to the year. He wins the international title in his own right. Wrestles Remy Ravage, who's had an amazing, one of the greatest comebacks in wrestling history. I don't care what circuit and company you're in, just amazing. Brady Branson was arguably the award winner of 2023. And, Miyano Diaz, you helped obviously get him to the world title. And Hunter Halkins, again, another darling in the circuit. And, by the way, in between that, Justin Parsley and Aaron Blaze. So pretty good work. I mean, you definitely know what you were doing. And that's why when you kept saying those targets, you kept messaging me about those targets, you definitely proved that. I want to ask you one question before I get to the match. I get to you and Justin. I know that's going to where people all of a sudden are going to percolate when Justin Parsley's name is up. I wanted to get your reaction but that's how it goes here. It's the bat signal. When Justin Parsley now has become one of the names where the bat signal goes on. He gets mentioned, all of a sudden people get triggered. But let me ask you though this before I get into that. There was somebody else who obviously is coming to a decision that I guess we'll have to see what their future is. That's Julian Void Jacobs. He was the EBW champion, and he had won his first world title years ago off you in a cash-in, and you've obviously had your problems with him these last few months, and it looks like Julian Void Jacobs, I guess his future could be maybe similar to yours. I was curious for the audience who Julian Void Jacobs was most recently here a few weeks ago. He was put into the Hall of Fame on Sportzwire. As a matter of fact, he was here about 5 weeks ago. And I was curious what your thoughts are on the future of Julian Void Jacobs, the former EBW champion.
I actually don't know a lot about his situation, a lot of things that go behind the scenes in XCW and talent and stuff like that. I don't really know a whole lot.
Sure.
But what I can say is, like you mentioned, got his first world title when he cashed in on me. Absolutely loved that for him. It wasn't the most prestigious reign for the world title. However, gave him that opportunity. He fully deserved to finally be world champion at that point. What you don't get to see on camera is, and I was backstage prepping, so I didn't get to hear everything, but
sure.
You on camera, you get to see he puts his shoes in the ring and stuff like that. There's what I will say is there's some type of financial distress. So what I can say is he got on the mic and spoke. And that's how I know about the financial stuff or whatever. And I know that he's stepping away at least for a while to get that type of situation settled. I don't know the full business, so I can't dive into it.
I've actually moved away from a lot of that on Sportswire these past several weeks. So, we really, whatever happens, and we love Void. Void was so gracious being here. But, obviously, what an emotional story, too, in a different way. Obviously, He struggled. He talked about, it's well documented. He talks about some things he struggled with mental health-wise. He was very upfront about that. He doubted himself. He was a guy who was an EBW reject, and he emotionally wins the world title. Comes up short, though, sadly, against Eric Mason, but still a hell of a story, hell of a journey. And I was curious just what your thoughts were on that, because obviously EBW's had their problems with Julian Void Jacobs. So I just thought that we would ask you about that. But okay, that's fair. I could totally understand where we're going with that. All right, so you know what? I think it's time to put the matchup, because I could see, once again, you like Remy Ravage is under the weather, because ironically, Remy was here last Sunday. Maybe did you catch Remy Ravage's cold or something? Because Remy Ravage has the same thing you have.
No, just everybody here is kind of sick. So, and plus I get sick when the weather changes a little bit. So I'm good though.
Yeah, I don't know. Everybody seems to be getting sick this week in sports. James Taylor was sick. Remy Ravage was sick. Everybody seems to be getting a cold right now. But let's move away from the cold and get hot, because Fatal Fallout was definitely a huge show and very successful. Well, very successful. Closing on 400 views. And I'm obviously going to get to first the entrance of the man that came out, a man that you have such history with, Mr. Justin Parsley. And there's Mr. Parsley himself, and he's obviously taken a new approach over these past several months, and it seems like it's helped him a little bit. But what are we seeing here? This got really personal here. I mean, we talked about your history, and he came out and had his own revisionist opinions, but talk about what we're seeing here right now.
Well, I'll tell you this: what I said on the microphone, none of it was a lie.
I figured that. I got the feeling.
Over since 1996, everything I said was true. From the powerbomb on concrete from Parsley's. I don't want to say co-conspirator, but the guy that also ran HCW, which was the first company I stepped into at the time. The powerbomb on concrete to, in wrestling, gigging yourself. Talk about we had those razor blades. They stole championships from us. That was true. So it's just ultimately, eventually it comes to a boiling point. Like I've had Justin's back since day one. HCW, BYWE, everybody left. I was still there.
Yep. And you were the first guest on his podcast, right? Remember that Circle of Jerks? You were the first guest, if I'm not mistaken.
Episode one. I was first guest on this podcast. Soon as UIW started up, even though back then cross promotion wasn't really a thing. It wasn't All Wrestling Matters back then. It was kind of.
No, I know that.
I got the lecture. A little bit of a competition.
I got the lecture from, if you remember, Rad Hazard all those years ago, the GBYWN, and he gave me the history on it. So, yep, you're not wrong there. So it was, you were there in those days, so you would probably remember.
So I might have said I'm the original traveler, but to be honest, it's not like I traveled out of state like, Justin, Jack, JX, all Aaron Blaze, all those people. I was never going to travel out of state at that point in my career, but I was the original traveler traveling to, UIW. And there was a couple one-night stand BYWE shows where people like Fletch and, XCW legend, Cynical and stuff wrestled. So I was always going to be there until the end of Parsley. And like I said, the entire time before the end, you got to return to the beginning. In the beginning, one of my first matches was with Justin Parsley. So why not now? Why not Chris Jones finally try to win the war?
Yeah, and I think 28 years, we see it all the time, right? Everybody's talking about in WWE, John Cena, who should be his final opponent, right? And everybody's logically saying it's Randy Orton because of the history that John Cena and Randy Orton have. So realistically speaking, it should be Chris Jones and Justin Parsley one more time because at the end of the day, you guys are so intertwined. The history, it speaks for himself. In and out of XCW, everything you went through as kids to where you guys are now is really at two of the top of the backyard in the underground wrestling circuit, more or less.
Yeah, and like I said, it's different when you actually get to, a storyline is one thing, but a real story, that's a completely different ballpark. And me and Fletch kind of did the same thing back in 2020. I was going, he said he wanted a big name to come back and wrestle at SummerMania, so I'm like, I'll do it. And, he came out, cut one promo. I came out and cut one promo. We didn't need multiple matches to get that storyline to where it is. We said a lot of real stuff. And just like with me and Justin, 2024, we said, I said a lot of real stuff. He responded. And
he did. I actually could not put the volume up for that because what this Mr. Parsley had in his arsenal for this, I could not put on the air because we are obviously a family station and that may work other places, but we can't put that there. Let me ask you, though, this before we get to the match. And obviously, we're here with Chris Jones, of course, the legendary franchise player of XCW, of course, who we're about to watch his final match coming up here at Fatal Fought in the main event against Justin Parsley, who is the PWF champion, which, by the way, I own 1/3 of that. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. Your voice figuratively, literally, all wrestling matters. Are we seeing the real Justin Parsley these last several months? I'd be curious. You know him better than anybody. These guys in other promotions, they've been dealing with him, and obviously they have their issues with him, well documented. But I'm curious for the audience, are we seeing the real Justin Parsley from your vantage point?
Well, I have an advantage over people like Jack Delta and all the other
Black
people that
Soldier
Justin
GP,
has wrestled.
Former XCW employees. Yep.
All the people that Justin has and will wrestle because I've been there for all the different mental and persona changes from Justin Parsley. Like you heard me mention the promo, homicide, dilly gaff, lost his smile, got it back. Why so serious, Justin? The Pez, when he was above par, the first real superstar, and the real ones with Rob Slater. I've seen every iteration of Justin Parsley. Even stuff I didn't mention. We were a team a long time ago called the Un-Americans, back when a lot of people just emulated what was on TV. We were in a group called the Un-Americans. And I would say when Justin is being a bad guy, you're seeing the absolute best that Justin has to offer. And don't get me wrong, Justin can be a real good guy.
He was. I mean, the people were behind him so much at the end of last year going into this season. I mean, people were just behind him. People loved him and Rob Slater, and they loved him so much that they got both of them into the Hall of Fame in XCW. Who would have guessed that would have ever happened?
I mean, Tom Bryce is like a no false finish historian at this point. I was pitching since the beginning for one of the questions I asked the majority of the guests on the show is, do you think Justin Parsley should be in the Hall of Fame? That's because
I do remember that.
I
did use some of that when Mr. Parsley, we were speaking about this. I don't know. Remember the second or third appearance he came on? Yeah, it's you were certainly pitching that for sure, probably against the wishes of management.
Something else to think about, though, is when it comes to Justin, he always returns to what you currently seeing in the XCW products. Wherever he travels, you get to see the bad guy, Justin Parsley. I mentioned we were a tag team, the Untouchable Entourage.
Yep.
UIW didn't have tag team titles, but we were a group. People liked us. We had the Zoe McVeigh thing going on. And then ultimately, like I mentioned, somehow got roped into a love triangle or something like that.
I don't want to ask.
Justin would knock her down in the match. I tried to help her out, being the good guy that I was. She'd elbow me in the face, turn around into a finisher from Justin. 1, 2, 3, I lose. After the match, she helps me up, and then what she do? Slap me in the face, low blow me. Was it a plan all along? Knowing Justin Parsley, probably. Justin Parsley also had his uncle was the one that on screen ran UIW, William Gacy, and there was a last man standing match, I think it was, between myself and Justin Parsley with the UIW title on the line. And what happens? Somehow Justin had his uncle, the GM, and the owner in his pocket, and I got chloroform. Held me down for the last man standing count. So when it comes to Justin, I know Jack Delta's well-traveled, Omen Black, anybody that steps in the ring with Justin, always give it everything you got.
I even saw what he did.
You think he has a trick in his pocket?
You know what? You just don't know with him. I even saw what he did to Soldier GP's son. I mean, you just don't know with Justin Parsley, I guess, from what your vantage point. That's why I don't get involved in wrestling. I don't get involved because you just don't know with Justin Parsley. Let me ask you one more question because I want to get to the match here with Chris Jones, of course. Are you surprised, though, that he's traveling as much as he has? I mean, we've seen him in Michigan, Ohio, Iowa. They're talking about him in even other places right now. Today, he was a topic in Massachusetts. I hear he's a topic in Tennessee right now. All these places, all of a sudden, he's a topic. Are you surprised that Justin Parsley is this big traveler now all of a sudden?
I'm extremely surprised, to be honest. Back when I even had him on No False Finish, if you'd asked me then, I'd have still been shocked if you'd have said Justin was going to go do all these shows. To be honest, I thought he was done with wrestling. Pretty much cashed in my favor in his podcast to get him on No False. And I've always maintained a relationship with like Justin, someone you don't see on XW TV now, Austin Chaos.
Yes,
just people that come and go from XCW, because you never know when you might need a favor or they might need a favor in the future. So I've always tried to maintain some type of relationship with those superstars. And as someone that's known Justin for many years, I would have never thought he would have traveled to Indianapolis, Indiana to wrestle, to be honest. But sometimes the death of a loved one of our best friends and late great Kurt Acid, brings people together. And like I said after the match, that's exactly what it did. It's sad it took so long for Fletch and Justin to reconcile and to be as good of friends as they are now. But it's brought Justin back to something that he's, even though he loved to hate, it's brought him something back that he loves to do that his kids get to see, because his kids didn't get to see the old Justin Parsley. Kids didn't get to see the old stuff that Justin gets to do, but now his kids are there every show and they get to see him perform and do something that he loves to do.
That's very well said. Very well said. And I think that that's the most important thing, is letting, you just never know. So have your family out there and get a chance to watch. I think that that's very important. Okay, so let's go back here. Let's get closer to the match. We'll go out here. So we'll go fast forward. We'll watch some of the match. We won't go through all of it, but we see you coming out here and that Iverson jersey still fitted in. You still look good. I mean, I think you could probably go for another 28 years.
Yeah.
Great. I mean, you're in great shape. Seriously, you're in fantastic shape. I mean, you just never know. And we see you come out there. You're looking good, to be honest.
Well, after coming back and not being in quite so great shape, I try to maintain a little physical activity. A lot of people don't know, for the month of August, I worked almost every day. I worked night shift. That's a little over 12 hours. So like Summer Mania, I came and wrestled Summer Mania, no sleep. I was up for about 40 hours. Same thing with this match. God. I came and did this match with no sleep, and I was up for about 40 or so hours. But I wanted to honor my agreements, and I didn't want to let the fans or anybody down.
How did you not fall asleep during the match, though? I gotta ask. I mean, would you just doze off, and how'd you stay up?
Once you're there, just the adrenaline, the fans, and that's something like, could I go and wrestle in a different promotion where there's like nobody cheering and stuff like that? Yeah. But when you have people out there cheering, booing, getting behind, hating you, whatever's necessary, it just brings out something else in the performance, I feel. So that's how I was able to stay awake, to be honest.
Well, I mean, that's, I guess, a good analogy, but I mean, that even makes it more really impressive of what you did, because you were just not at 100%, but you just felt the importance of doing it. And I would not recommend for any wrestlers that watch this or anybody that might hear this on TikTok that you do not do that every time you go out there. Chris Jones is obviously Superman. He's the Michael Jordan of our circuit, but I don't think I would recommend everybody else to do that. But kind of a curious start here between you and Justin. I mean, you want to talk about what this is designed here?
It's the ultimate, how well do we know each other? We couldn't get out of the lockup, jockeying for position, a leg sweep pin, and both go for a drop kick. And, like we talked about, over 28 years of being in the business with Justin, not even Rob Slater, I'll say this, and it's not a knock to Rob Slater, not even Rob Slater knows Justin as good as I do wrestling-wise. I think the next best person I could say I know. True. I think the next best person I could say I know this well is probably Fletch, Cynical, or Kurt Aston. We would go out there and do the exact same thing. It's just showing how well we know each other.
So when you guys had the match, there was no, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. Is where you guys going out there and just two old chums or two old rivals just going out there? Or was there a plan going into this match?
The ending, just because of everything that went into the ending specifically, we kind of had it. I don't want to say like the very end, because the very end, like I said, could have changed. I could have switched it up mid-match, but without spoiling anything for the people that are watching live.
Yes, don't spoil it for them. We don't like
with what had happened leading up to the end of the match, before we got back into the ring, we kind of had to have that kind of queued up and planned. But ultimately, besides that, the only thing that we knew was, hey, depending upon how I feel, if I call for the powerbomb, just be ready to give me the powerbomb on the sidewalk. And pretty much everything else was just me and Justin calling it in the ring.
Okay. With the match like this, you tell me basically if I'm wrong from what I gathered, because of the month of August, you were basically working out or doing some type of activity every day that helped you prepare physically for the match, correct?
Yeah, I was at my job for over 12.25 hours. So you got to think 12.25 hours of essentially physical activity. I'm coming home, maybe sleeping at most 4 hours, just because I don't sleep very well on days that
I
I do
know
have to
actually.
work.
I know how you feel. Actually, we're in the same boat, so I got you on that.
So a lot of things that we did do, like you see in the sharpshooter right there before
Yep.
the figure four, that was a callback to Kurt Acid 666. Kurt Acid, one of his signature submissions was the sharpshooter. So what we did do, and we talked about as we went through the match, was we wanted to pay tribute as to as many people as possible. Like at some point you'll see an FU. That's a tribute to Hazard. I know the announcer said something like Julian Voigt Jacobs, but that's probably just because they forgot that originally it was Hazard's finisher. We do an angle slam, which is another callback to Kurt Acid, and even a suicide effect, which was Fletch's first finisher that he ever did in XCW. So a lot of callbacks to wrestlers from the past and just kind of pay respect to certain people.
Wow, very, very poignant. And that's very poignant, and obviously that's kind of why we're seeing such a great match here. And well, again, with Chris Jones, my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I'm going to break it here, actually. I'm going to be back here with more XCW coverage, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time with Holden Holloway. Holden Holloway is an up-and-coming talent in the XCW roster, and he is live here tomorrow. He makes his debut on Sportzwire Radio. Well, he had a cameo here before, but he makes his official debut. He's going to talk about now being a part of the roster. He's going to talk about, obviously, his journey and also being a part of the Backyard Havoc in the state of Ohio alongside Justin Parsley. So the irony of that. But right now we are watching Fatal Fallout, the main event between two of the greatest in the Indiana backyard and underground wrestling circuit, between Justin Parsley and Chris Jones, the franchise player. And also, Chris Jones, I'm going to have something for you in a little while, which I want to present, which will obviously sort of maybe cap off your career. But that chair shot there definitely hurt.
Well, when you tell someone to swing that MFer and they do, and I was very happy with how hard he hit me. I wanted him to kill me, to be honest. And the chair wrapped around my head. You literally just seen it on the show.
And the irony of Brogan O'Shea being the referee, it's an unsanctioned match, obviously. So that's the irony of it. But Brogan O'Shea being the referee. And you've obviously had your history with Brogan O'Shea.
Yeah, a lot of people think he was just there. And we had to explain it like he was just there because of the history with Justin Parsley and Rob Slater in the tag team division. But that's not the case. Brogan wanted to kill Chris Jones back
Yeah,
in,
you had history with him. And that's
2021,
why I to announce you. Yep, correct.
So Brogan had history with both of us, and we knew that Brogan wouldn't take shit. Well, we didn't know that. The GM, Elijah, knew that Brogan wouldn't take shit from either of us, and he would lay down the law if necessary. And that's the whole reason why Brogan was there.
How do you like the new general manager?
I think it's one of the better ones we've had. Obviously, I've been myself, but I was more of a comedic general manager, just kind of having fun with it. And I think it's ushering in a new era for XCW. And I'm happy to see what she has to offer the brand. I'm very happy with came out for the promo, debuted at SummerMania, I believe. So I want to see what she can do for the brand personally.
Good answer. I think that's obviously something we're all excited about. And XCW obviously has a lot of great shows ahead, and we're very excited about XCW coverage ahead here on Sportswire Radio. One more time, Holden Holloway. Yep, I see it right there. I see it. And that definitely hurt.
As someone that's taken that move on the ground before we could afford a ring and stuff, it definitely hurts a lot.
Oh, I think it hurts. It doesn't matter where it is. It's definitely going to hurt. I mean, that's definitely why you had to have had this be your last match, considering what you've put in your body through here and just everything.
Here's a tribute to Hazard.
Pretty move, by the way. Very pretty. You connected there. I mean, I thought it was connected. Even the dog agreed. The dog thought it was a pretty move. I mean, that's how good the move was. But I digress. But obviously, we see Mr. Parsley and yourself fighting, and just the heat factor here. What is the heat a factor?
Oh, definitely. You don't get to hear it on the show, but once again, I'm not going to spoil anything. But towards the end of the match, when I know we're leading into like the final moments, the big spot, like we're both dying. Like I'm gagging in the ring, trying to. Oh, here's a nasty pile driver.
Oh, you
I'm
can
gagging
see
in the ring from the heat.
reaction.
You see the camera chick taking pictures. She offers water to both of us. So the heat was a big factor.
And the dog agrees too. Trust me, the dog agrees that you obviously have the issues with the heat there. I agree too.
Luckily, I was going to finish the match regardless. The backup for this match, if something happened, like Justin XCW had a falling out or Justin got hurt, couldn't compete, the backup to this match was a career versus career Iron Man match with Brogan O'Shea, which would have been 30 minutes. And Justin told me earlier that this match, you got to get the fans involved. Justin told me earlier that this match went like exactly 20 minutes. So 10 more minutes, I would have had to go with Brogan. The heat was rough, and I was out there dying, but I was not going to give up until the final three count.
The heat, it depends. I talk with a lot of the TBW guys, and they've come on here, and I asked them, like, how do you deal with the heat? And some of them just say, you hope. I mean, you just go and you just have to hope and go out there, and you're hoping to obviously avoid some of that ring metal there, but you found it there, and Justin Parsley does what Justin Parsley always does and gives you a low blow, and you're definitely feeling that. You're feeling that more than probably the 40-hour work shift you just had, but we'll certainly figure that out. Yeah, I can
definitely.
This
movie's getting ready to hurt. It was unexpected. I had no idea what he was doing. This hurt.
Yeah, that was almost like a reverse Vader bomb. Almost, it was kind of a sort of a reverse Vader bomb.
I had no idea, but there was no selling to that. That hurt.
And boy, did you! I don't even know when I thought about it then. I still don't know how you kicked out, but you found a way to kick out, nevertheless.
I think at that point in the match, like it's hard to tell without the noise going on, but I'm pretty sure the fans were. Several moments during the match, they were pretty loud, and I think that was
it was a good crowd. I got to say, the crowd was really into it. The XC and the Galaxy. By the way, we love our Galaxy here. The Galaxy is just always so devoted, but the Galaxy was really extra Galaxy like here when it came to all of this. But Mr. Parsley, I mean, he's definitely got some tricks up his sleeves and in his bag, and
there's the Acid Slam I mentioned. Tribute to Kurt Acid again off the top. And I think at that point, we're kind of really feeling the heat.
You can see that because if you looked at him, his facial expressions, Mr. Parsley, he definitely was like, "What more can I do?" And I still can't put away the franchise player.
And it's obvious that it's a lot harder with people that have more hair, wear all black, especially during the summertime, because certain things attract heat.
Trust me, I know. All I do is wear black. Trust me, all I do. I know it better than anybody.
Just as much, if not more.
Well, obviously, you two men are obviously fighting like warriors, fighting like you are for the XCW Galaxy, and we see you. This, I thought, was just, to me, one of the moments. This was one of the, you guys are just that back and forth there. What a moment.
Rise up face to face with, one of the first people you ever stepped foot in, we'll say the yard, because back then it kind of was. And, it's kind of interesting, Justin's one of the only people to ever give me a frog splash, considering I also have done it over the years.
Yep. I've seen that.
And that was one of Justin's big moves that he used to do back in the day in that company that I first started at. So a lot of callbacks, a lot of tributes that if you didn't really know Chris Jones or Justin Parsley, you might not know. And if you notice, kind of a comedic thing, Brogan's now wearing a sleeveless ref shirt.
I can certainly see that here, and obviously there are some comments starting to percolate. We'll get to them in 5 or 10 minutes. The chat has woke up finally. I think they saw the match and they see that Justin Parsley's on the screen. So now it's time to basically get involved. So we appreciate that the chat is finally coming to play, because Chris Jones is a legend, but Justin Parsley is on his back, and he's obviously trying to figure out what can he do to put away Chris Jones, the franchise player. But obviously, then we see you go back also a little bit there.
Yeah, my first character back in 1996 was this character wearing this Scream mask right here.
Well, that was the movie of the summer with Scream, 1996. Yeah. That was the movie everybody was thinking about, the scene with Drew Barrymore and Courtney Cox before she had like 20 different facial surgeries. And yeah, it was just a thing.
I told Justin he was going to get everything. There's a promo before I go out to the ring that I say one last time, the battle to end all battles, the final fight. Chris Jones is going to try to win the war, and I'd give Parsley everything I had. And what a lot of people don't know is these were Chris Jones's other characters throughout his career. Joker was first. I ended up picking up Psycho Circus Clown a little after 2005. That's what you're seeing right here. I actually was Psycho Circus Clown when the tag team match, Remy Ravage and Psycho Circus Clown versus ACT and Jacoby. And then I think the most well-known mask character, like once people actually knew who played the characters, like the one you're getting ready to see right now, is probably the one I'm well-known the most for, and that's LOL.
Yep. Yeah. And there you go. And boy, that was kind of so fitting that you were able to do all that there and get the mask and put them all on. Glad they fitted.
I only had 2 of the 3. Thanks to Justin. Justin still had the Scream mask. So,
and also, if you're here,
able to.
And boy, I can see that there. Also, if you're here and you want to hit the sub button for XCW, they're at XCW Wrestling 1. Please go hit the sub button for them. They're almost at 1,600 subscribers. And if you'd like to hit the sub button for us here on Sportswire Radio, we're at Sportswire Radio 6579. I just passed 900 subscribers. So I'm inching my way ever so closely to 1,000. So if you've started to come on here and hang out, do that and support both of us. But obviously, we're watching some of them. I think I was going to watch most of the matches, but I think we're pretty much toward the second half of it. And boy, that's super.
Yeah,
that was just the
right on the chin. That's why it's always been. I could never change finishers as Chris Jones. I've always been known for the super kick. Always would be. If I wrestled at a different company, I would have asked for the super kick. If they said no, I'd have switched it up for that company out of respect. Mm-hmm. But what the fans aren't hearing right now, Rob Slater's music hitting, not letting me get the pin on his other friend Justin Parsley. So Robert kind of coming to stop me from
Robert, for those that may or may not know Robert, that's could be a government name, but you ain't getting a government name out of Robert there, because Robert, who's tall as a glass of water, is definitely rumbling, bumbling, stumbling, and he just can't get up here. But the boy, he does have his RKO, which is still pretty good, but obviously you're down and out for a little bit here.
Yeah, typical bad guy fashion.
Yep.
Rob, Justin, Rob came out, gives him the time he needs.
Oh, and Mr. Jones left us here. Where is Chris Jones? Did Justin Parsley play with his Wi-Fi? Because we were hoping he would watch the rest of the match with us, but we hope that Chris Jones comes back. We are watching Justin Parsley versus Chris Jones here on Sportswire Radio. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively and literally all wrestling matters. If you are here, go hit the sub button for us. We hope that Chris Jones comes back for us. Also, I'm here tomorrow. There he is. Oh, actually, no, he's not here yet. He's still not here. Chris Jones, where are you? There you go. Chris Jones. Still don't see him. Chris Jones is having some technical difficulties. We really hope that he fixes it very shortly, because there you go. I was like, what happened? Did Justin Parsley and Rob Slater interfere with your Wi-Fi?
I have no idea, but back to what we were talking about before we got disconnected there. You see Fletch come out. Yes. Fletch has been my best friend just like Justin, over 28 years. And I'm sure, there's still a little hostility between him and the real ones for the leg injury there that he's dealing with right now, as you see him hobbling. Yes. But kind of coming out to save his friend. I'm not in EBW at that point anymore. And he probably wants the final match with Chris and Justin to be a fair fight. And as you can see, they gave me a double choke slam right before the cutout. So it's very successful, unfortunately, because of the leg injury. Brogan can't do nothing. It's all legal and sanctioned.
Well, it's that, and just the personal twist in all of it is just really certainly something else here. And obviously Justin Parsley is motioning to something, and he's motioning toward doing something to Fletch, and you're just trying to get your composure. And then this is the move, ladies and gentlemen. This is one of the moves that we should all look at here in the backyard in the underground wrestling circuit. Pay attention to what the franchise player is about to do. Just pay attention. Say nothing here. Let's go. I don't even know how you did that. I still don't know how you did that, Chris Jones. I don't know how you did that.
I don't know how the ring announcer got up fast enough to not get hit by that, to be honest. You see how fast the ring announcer and his girlfriend moved?
Look like at this. Oh, my God, ladies and gentlemen. You want to talk about moves? I like to move it, move it. Chris Jones likes to move it, move it. Off the top rope, he still has got it. He still may be the best in XCW or anywhere else in the backyard circuit. Yes, I like to see Chris Jones move it. Yes, he did move it. That was funny. It was random, too. But, boy, I still don't know how you were able to pull that off. And the dog agrees. And obviously, Justin Parsley, that's okay. They're excited about the match because it's coming to an end. But obviously, Justin Parsley finds his way to getting back up. I don't know why he did those things, but he did. And Justin Parsley doing what Justin Parsley may do best. Just ask other people and other promotions you may want to say, but it's supposed to be over. It looks over. It's all she wrote. But guess what? There's no referee because it's an unsanctioned match because Chris Jones is not an employee of XCW, and Justin Parsley, well, he's just Justin Parsley. Now we are waiting to see something. And what would Jones do? Well, what would a referee do? They would count to 3, but there is no referee. So we're waiting to see if a senior XCW official or any XCW official will come in. But in the meantime, Justin Parsley trying to do Chris Jones' own finisher. You can't do this. This would be absolutely abominable. Listen, you can't do this in wrestling. You can't. Listen, there's a certain line. You can't go past that line. And Justin Parsley is tuning up the band, and is he about to do? No, wait a minute. There's nobody that can do a sweep. And there's broken. 1, 2, 3. Ring the bell. Oh, my God. The franchise player, Chris Jones, has been finally able to pull off in one of just the most unbelievable final matches in wrestling history. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, this was really one we're going to look back 10 years from now, 15 years, 20 years from now and say, how did Chris Jones pull that all off? And you did, and just, I don't know how you had it in you. I don't know where Brogan O'Shea came from. It doesn't matter because you got a victory, and you went out on top. You went out on top. Peyton Manning did the same thing. John Elway did the same thing. And certainly you joined them and joined some of the all-time greats that went out on top. And Jerome Bettis in football, throw him in there. The Steelers all those years ago. You found a way, and smart, getting that water right away. Getting that water because you probably wanted that water more than the 3 count.
It was kind of crazy. Obviously, we kind of knew that was happening. But when I super kicked him, like I threw so much force into that super kick because, it's the last one. I wanted to obviously make it look as good as possible. I threw so much force and connected that I actually, when you go back and watch it later, you'll see I actually fall through and fall on top of him for the pin. Like I just kind of slipped and just kicked everything I had into that last super kick. And, you got to pay the respect to where he came from.
This is what XCW continues to bring to the table. This is why XCW continues to deliver some of the premier and quality backyard and underground wrestling that we certainly want to cover each and every time here on this platform. And just we see the essential one, Rob Slater, who essentially is getting back up. And we see here Justin Parsley helping up Tim. We see Joshua Fletcher getting back into the ring. And just an embrace of men that have gone through everything together in the Indiana backyard and underground wrestling circuit to be where they are today. These men that all those years ago didn't know what the future was, didn't know there'd be a YouTube, didn't know that we'd be live right now and have hundreds of people watching this, and we just see an embrace. And now let's go to the Chris Jones final speech. We're going to go here and watch it for a few minutes. Thank you, Rob Slater, for testing the microphone. Let's hear from the essential speech that Chris Jones, our franchise player, as he's sort of recovering here and he's getting a breath. Let's hear the speech. It's an important one for those listening, watching here on Sportzwire Radio.
Apology. Oh, yeah, right. After Jackson came in and helped Luke Blaze's team win, and all that stuff went down, I was sitting at home. I didn't take care of my body. I didn't take care of myself. So when I came back, I got hurt my very first match with Miano Diaz. Not his fault, completely my fault. Busted a fluid sac in my elbow. Then I wrestled Aaron Blaze. Shout out to him. Ended up with a minor tear in my rotary cuff. So I owe you guys an apology for not being able to perform my best. But if you enjoyed anything that Chris Jones or the EBW people, whether you hated him, did this season, you need to thank this man right here. When I wrestled Brogan, I promised Brogan wrestling related without his blessing. I kept that promise for the Benji show. I kept that promise for the EBW story. So shout out to Brogan. I love you, man. You also got to thank Brady Branson for his continuing pestering me on our late night walks. Brady Branson never gave up. Where are you going? Before I get to you, I might over-embellish at the beginning promo of the show. But you and Hazard gave me an opportunity.
I don't think Soldier DP and Owen Black were complaining. Without you, it was Jack Delta.
Bringing me you give me a chance to meet someone who's one of my best friends for over 25 years.
Look back at it.
You've also been one of my best friends over 25 years. I've had your back since day one. You've had mine. We went back to the beginning, gave me 8 powerbomb, asshole. But Chris Jones is part of the man he is today with you. Then I go to this guy. He catches a lot of flack. Is he an asshole? You best believe he is.
I don't know. I have CJ Black.
For a good reason.
Oh, boy. Boy, somebody heard that in
high
Michigan.
school, because my dad and mom did some pretty bad things. He let me sleep on his couch, gave me a place to stay my sophomore and junior year, and then I moved out on my own, graduated. This man gives us all a platform to perform on. Not just me, not just Brogan. And one of the best moments I ever got to see is these two reconcile their differences after many, many years. So big shout out to Justin and Josh for putting everything behind them so they could put on the amazing stuff we did. It just sucks. It took the untimely passing of all of our best friends, Kurt Aston. We love him. We miss him every day. We've had a lot of personal stuff going outside.
And he's in
I
our
know he's
Hall of
got some
Fame.
stuff going on.
Always remember on Sportzwire.
I'll be up for 40 hours before I get to go to bed. I didn't forget about you. You and I have some bad blood going all the way back to 2004 when I picked your ass up and body slammed you on that brand new car you just got and dented the hood. I want to apologize.
That's essential one there
I want
for
to
you.
say,
That's essential.
the RKO is yours.
Yeah.
Now, what I want to do is I know this crippled ass is sitting on his ass. I want him to get in the ring one last time so we can take a picture that we never thought we'd be able to get. It's me, Josh, Justin, Robert,
Well, you better have your powers because that's going to happen.
and my
Boy,
death
I
match
tell
of
you what,
Hogan.
you ain't getting
Brogan
that
and
with Soldier DP and Owen Black anytime soon. I will Justin Parsons. This is one you're going to want to tune in and remember for a long
So let's
time.
get this picture we never thought we'd be able to make happen. Don't worry, we'll hold Jeff crippled.
Yeah!
Now we're going to go out and celebrate with these fans one last time. And the last time Chris Jones walks through this curtain.
No!
God, we love them again. And just shout out to the Galaxy. The Galaxy, just time and time again, they know how to support. The devoted Galaxy continues to rise above. And just an amazing moment. And, you know, since it's such an amazing moment, Chris Jones, and by the way, congratulations to XCW. They have now just hit 1,600 subscribers. Before we started the show, XCW, not at 1,600, Now XCW is at 1,600. So I want you out there. I know we got some people on YouTube. So if you haven't yet, go hit that sub button for XCW and relive that historic match at Fatal Fallout. But also watch the rest of the card. Also watch Summermania, Extreme King, all the other stuff that you can get from XCW in the backyard in the underground wrestling circuit. It just hit 1,600. What a historic day on Sportswire. XCW hit 1,600. Sportswire hits 900 subscribers. So if you're out there, have your friends tell their friends and have them come back and also support Sportswire and XCW. Congratulations. And since we are celebrating Chris Jones this historic day and really capping off an amazing career, I still don't know how you did what you did against Justin Parsley. I have decided to honor you for everything you've done for us in this backyard and underground wrestling circuit. Everything you've done for us by putting your blood, sweat, and tears out there. Everything you've done for us in this circuit by showing your devotion, by always going out there and being supportive and always going out there and conducting yourself like a true professional. Chris Jones, congratulations. You are forever known as the franchise player of backyard wrestling. You are forever known and cemented in your place for everything that you've done. You've got my signature, the date, the logo. This is for you. Thank you for being the franchise player, because you are not just the franchise player of XCW in the backyard wrestling circuit. You are the franchise player in backyard wrestling, and thank you for helping build backyard wrestling to where it is today. 21 years XCW continues. XCW has been an integral part of the history of backyard wrestling, and we want to honor that and recognize those. You have done that. Congratulations, and hopefully this won't hurt as much as what you did with Justin Parsley.
Thanks, much appreciated. Like you said, 21 years of XCW, 1996 for Chris Jones. It hasn't always been an easy road. There's been a lot of personal growth. The whole reason I was told for the powerbomb back in the day, the initiation, was because I was a cocky, arrogant asshole as a kid, and rightfully so. You would not play basketball or football with Chris Jones without me talking a little bit of shit to you. And even it goes far as like into like the beginnings of XCW 2004. Like I played that character you see on TV 24/7. That was the real deal Chris Jones back then. And ultimately in 2005, you know, I'd say I'd matured a little bit, just a lot of personal growth. I'm a different person than I was 2022, 2020, and it just continues to change over time. So to be honored with something like this, it's much appreciated, Tom. You always do great things for the backyard community overall. And
what you said, I'm so glad, though. I want to say it before I get to comment on people who have tuned in, and I thank everybody for coming on down. I think they were watching Jack Delta and Aaron Blaze on Instagram, but that's okay. We'll give people a pass. But I'm so glad you did talk about reconciliation. I'm so glad you talked about some of those things and bringing people together, because that's what we've been doing on the Sportswire the last several weeks. That's where you're seeing new people come in here and get a chance, and people that aren't just the same people. You're getting a chance to hear people that it means something to them. It means something to them to have an opportunity to talk about their story. We had a chance today with the young man, Joe Starr, a young man in Massachusetts, has his own company, NWE, starring in NEW. We had a chance to hear his story. We've had a chance to get to know some trampoliners in the beautiful state of Oregon. We're getting a chance to hear from new people that they want to talk and they want to feel that they have an opportunity. And that's what we're about on Sportswire. We're open hand, open collaborations. And I think what you said about reconciliation, you actually didn't have to mention Aaron Blaze, but you mentioned him. Obviously, we know the history there. You know, we know all that went on, but you still showed class. And I think that that's what we've been doing here. We've turned the cheek. We've turned the other leaf. And we continue to do that. We bring on people from all over the place. We bring people on who wrestle on the ground. We bring people who wrestle on the mat, the trampoline. We had Maxwell Reeves, young Maxwell Reeves from Pennsylvania, was given a chance to tell his story this past week. We are getting a chance to hear new people. Holden Holloway is here tomorrow. He's going to get a chance to hear his story, the emotional story of Remy Ravage. We got a chance to hear that. We are doing things to bring people together, open reconciliations, open collaborations. That's why Chris Jones is the franchise player of Backyard Wrestling. And I want to get to some comments because we still have some that I missed. Thank you, Zilla. Appreciate that. And also, make sure you congratulate XCW for hitting 1,600 subscribers. I want to say hello to Mr. Michael Blackheart, or Mr. Michael Christian, who you know very well. Hello. What's going on, Chris? Still remember the day I met you when you faced Venom and won the XCW World Heavyweight Championship, and you gave him the inspiration for the thumbtack sandal.
You can thank ACT for that. The thumbtack shoe was I've thought about doing it, but obviously it's a kind of do they want to take something like that. So Michael Christian can thank ACT for that one.
Well, I'm sure when ACT comes back on, we'll certainly make sure that we do that here. Okay, so obviously my buddy Judas is here, and he says Tom and Chris Jones, and I have his friend Holden Holloway. Yeah, sort of is his friend Holden Holloway. That's right, they're on the same side. Judas is a part of All Legendary Wrestling in Marion, Ohio, and he loved the match. We love the match here. Also, he wants to say not only is it great in the ring, but the storytelling is phenomenal. And that's what I think we saw. We saw a match that wasn't just a final match. There was a story and a purpose to it. That's why that match was so good. And that's why Chris Jones is the franchise player in the Backyard in the Underground Wrestling Circuit. And speaking of Justin Parsley, he is here right now, or he was here. He probably, who knows, maybe he's hurt still, but maybe he's on the road traveling somewhere. I have no idea. I know everywhere I go from here to this match and performance. Couldn't have done it without anybody else. Wouldn't have wanted to. What do you want to say toward that?
Friends over 28 years. Like I said, there's no one better to do it with to share your last match with. Justin Parsley is, I'll say, the traveling GOAT. I mean, there's still much to see. He's only recently started doing it, but with the story behind everything we've been since 1996, all the history we have, school, out of school, the good things we've done, the bad things we've done. You always got to remember where you came from and return to the beginning. So nothing but respect for Justin Parsley.
I appreciate that very much. We appreciate him. And thank you. I don't think you were in the chat, but I appreciate you. Want to say hello to our friend Jonathan Lazukis, who's been here in a couple of shows. What's up, Tom and Chris Jones? We're doing great. As he's still a part of XCW, his name is Big Man Cam. Zilla is on live on Instagram. I'm here with Chris Jones, though. Chris Jones has been in this circuit for 28 years. I mean, I'm here with Chris Jones, so don't worry about that. We appreciate Zilla for being in the chat. She can be on Instagram, but people will see who really Zilla is, and they'll see, trust me, what I know already. So appreciate that. We appreciate that. So, obviously, thank you, Big Man Cam. And is Big Man, what do you actually, you know what? What is your impressions of Big Man Cam? You've worked with him. You've seen him in XCW. What did you think of Big Man Cam?
I've had, obviously, he's a newer XCW guy, was the New Age champion.
Yep.
Something happened with an injury, so behind the scenes, I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but he seemed like a nice guy. When I talked to him outside the ring or whatever, I've not worked with him inside the ring. I've got to see some of his work, and I liked it. Good guy. Even though I'm not wrestling anymore, I'm sure I'll show up at a couple XCW shows. Still want to be, talk to the boys and whatnot. So hopefully see Big Man Cam in the future in XCW.
Well, we'll have to find out. I mean, that's obviously a good thing. We'll see. And apparently he doesn't like pizza.
Okay, maybe I don't want to see Big Man Cam in XCW. I'm just kidding.
Well, we'll have to find out for sure.
Pizza hate is a crime. So
yeah, he's had some problems in other places. I don't know what the issue is there with that, but okay, we appreciate that very much. But I'll take this off the screen for now. So I'll come back to some other things. I do want to ask you about EBW, but I was curious, since I guess this is the final match we're going to see, but do you want to go back to doing this? I mean, I know you're focusing on gaming. You do a lot of writing, but would you now want to go back to, let's say, no false finish? You knew this was a question that was going to come up, but what would you like to, say about that?
It's hard to say. Right now we got Jackson Law and referee Festus doing the Inception, which kind of, if you've watched like all the seasons of No Falls besides the last one, you would know that half of the season was talking about individual shows, why stuff happens, stuff like that, which is kind of what Inception's doing now. So that kind of takes half the show. And the half that I really enjoyed doing was, having the guests on, asking the hard questions. And regardless of how big XCW's roster is or how many people I pull out of thin air, eventually you run out of guests. Are there some people I could still probably pluck from out of nowhere that would shock people? Maybe. But I will say it is not coming back as a show per se. But who knows? Maybe in the future sometime there might be like a special edition one episode or something like that we do live on Facebook or live on the YouTube channel, something like that. Future plans are unknown, but my main focus right now is spending time at home, which I've not really got to do for 28 years, to be honest, and focusing on the gaming thing. Recently, there was an application sent to me, and it's for a full-time gaming writer. I haven't really talked about this with a lot of people yet. Full-time gaming writer, like $70,000 to $78,000 a year.
Oh,
So
wow.
more money than I make now.
That's a lot of money.
No benefits, which is the big thing starting off. So it's really it's hard to say like what type of decision, but like my main focus is kind of being home and focusing on the gaming stuff right now per se.
Benefits is obviously an important thing, but you've always dreamed about being a writer. You've always dreamed about gaming. That's been your passion. So if an opportunity is there, would that be something you'd want to take in?
Definitely more so somewhere in the gaming sphere per se. I'll be honest. If you ask who the top 3 writers are based on like skill of writing, I'm not even in the top 3. I'm not going to lie. However,
you probably write better than me. So yeah, okay.
I am one of the top view drawers. I'm the one that brings in the views. I share it on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
I try to share your posts. You're on Instagram,
text
Threads.
messages, Threads, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Mastodon, Discord, Snapchat, everywhere I can put my work or my content out there, because writers are content creators too. Everywhere I can put Chris Jones content out there, whether it be gaming related or media, because we cover media, tech, and gaming specifically. I'll put it out there so everybody can see it. And some of the articles you can see which one more love goes into. But ultimately, the goal is somewhere in the gaming space. And a lot of the bigger members of the team, per se, at Lords of Gaming, that's ultimate goal, is to be self-sustaining within the gaming space. Let me ask you a question, Tom.
You asked me.
You love wrestling. You love podcasting. How great would it be to be able to stay home and have a self-sustaining podcast to run everything for you and be comfortable? It'd be great, wouldn't it?
Well, I would say I have an asterisk, because I am fortunate enough that I can do this at a level that I have other things that are sustainable enough to juggle it. Obviously, I would say if I had a situation where I was really desperate and to be able to get into that opportunity, it would be an amazing accomplishment. I would say my situation is very asterisk based, but I do think that, getting to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, that'll probably give some small compensation, but to get the level that what you have, that opportunity, I mean, that's a life-changing opportunity. I mean, if you think about it, you've done so much for our sport. You've done so much in giving your body, but to go out and do something that would give you a career, and you travel for this. We talk about Justin Parsey. Oh, he travels, but you go to these conventions, you meet up with people, and you've met a lot of people that I think they would. We talked about this before. They probably know you more from writing and don't really know you at all from wrestling. That's why I think it's such a fascinating thing in what you've done.
Yeah, it's like you just said, a lot of them know me for writing. There's very few people within the gaming space. I'm not going to say everybody. There's some people that know because I talk to regularly. Specifically, you got my Instagram pulled up there. The guy in the picture with me, Lord Cognito, he's had my back since day one. When I flew to the first event, I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous going to these events, meeting these guys I've never met in person. And it was the same thing in 2020. I went and met someone I had played Xbox with since 2007, and I went to stay with him for a week in 2020. I went to his wedding in 2009, but that's not the same. I barely got to talk to him. But in 2020, I literally stayed with this person and his family for a week, and to be able to do some of that and meet some of these big people, I'm sure a lot of people, if you know anything about video games, Larry Herb, Major Nelson used to be the face of Xbox, the guy with the white gloves. I still have people on my bucket list I would like to meet. Phil Spencer, head of Xbox at Microsoft. I'd like to meet Aaron Greenberg, which a lot of the team have met. I'd like to meet Sarah Bond. She's the head of Xbox. I'd like to meet some big PlayStation executives too, but they don't tend to travel nearly as much. And just to see some of the big name people kind of celebrate the small time people. It doesn't always happen because with every community there's some sort of toxicity, and that's what you've been trying to kill with All Wrestling Matters. You heard my speech.
But I think even the last month and a half, because I know it was documented, for a little while on Sportswire, people would say, some of it, I got to be honest, was directed toward Fletch to an extent, but I think guys like Alan Michaels of TBW talked about, what, we got to move on from this. Stop telling people where they should or should. Eddie Exile, another guy, talked about, look, I just want to go out and wrestle. I mean, people want to do what they want. Let them be happy, I think if you've looked at Sportswire the last, I want to say 2 months, you've seen less of that. You've seen people coming on here. It doesn't matter who they are from. It doesn't matter. We've had pros, Tarzan Duran, wrestled Jacob Fatu. We've had guys on the trampoline. Yes, the trampoline, Anthony Arias. I mean, we've had people from all over the place. So I really do believe that the toxicity, it's always going to be there. There's no question about it. Anything you have in life, there's toxicity. But I think if you look at Sportswire, the last month or two, there's been peace, and I think it's prosperity. I mean, even things that was said, you look at it's far different because people know they're getting a chance. People are getting an opportunity, and we're focusing on in the ring, not outside the ring. It's time to move away from that. There are hundreds upon hundreds of people that give their life to wrestling in the backyard in the underground wrestling circuit, and I think that it's more important to talk about that than when somebody didn't like maybe a match they were in, or didn't like their storyline, or didn't like what their wins and loss record was. It's time to move away from that. And I've even said, I'm not a part of wrestling. I'm not a wrestler. I'm not looking to do that. I'm looking to showcase people. I'm not looking to do anything but give people a floor. And I think that your positivity, I think, spoke volumes. Alan Michaels, when he was here, spoke about positivity. I think a lot of people have spoke about it. And I think I'm hearing the messages more that they're happy we're going away from that. And I think that you preach that, and a lot of people have. And I'm happy to put your Instagram page up so people can go out and check you out. And I hope you make the right decision, really. If it's an opportunity for you to go make some money and do something you dream. I mean, wrestling's been great. It's definitely given you an opportunity, but you're still a young guy, relatively speaking. If this is the opportunity for you, I think you got to take it.
And sometimes I'd say it's either like the older, super older generations, or the younger generations nowadays. There's just a lot of hate, or people want to, I don't want to say go into business for yourself, because that's a wrestling term. A lot of people might not understand it, but they want to focus on stuff that benefits them the most, I guess is how I word it.
Yeah.
And there's enough room in wrestling, in gaming, sports, anything in life,
everything,
where you can bring people up with you and help elevate people. If you ask Chris Jones what the best generation of wrestling is, as much as you boast about me being the greatest of all time, Michael Jordan in the backyard and stuff like that, I'm going to tell you the greatest generation of wrestling is now. Because if the greatest generation of wrestling
interesting. You
not
said
now,
that. Very interesting.
Is not now, then if it's not now, then I didn't do my job correctly, did I?
No.
You talked about
No.
You talked about us being around for, I've been around 28 years doing this.
Mhm.
If I've been around for 28 years, I've not helped pave the way for these new guys coming in to do, to be a star. If I've not paved the way correctly, then what I do with that 28 years? It's all
That's a good
about
question.
elevating the future and providing the platform that they need to perform on, whether it's in wrestling, whether it's in basketball, football, even elevating people on gaming podcasts. It's not all about stealing the shine. There's enough shine to share for everyone.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I think at the end of the day, if somebody wants to do something, go for it. I think if that's,
Yeah.
to me, if somebody goes out and wants to do something to the best of their ability, I mean, more power to you, really. So I feel that really that's what you're seeing a lot here. I think that, you've done a lot, I think, to give people like Miano Diaz an opportunity. He got a
Especially
boost.
Miana.
Yeah, because he was a guy that had a lot of talent, and he was on here,
Yeah.
and I think there's still a lot of potential there, but you were at least able to get him into the discussion of being a guy that can be a major player for sure coming up.
And you look at from the time frame of coming out at Summer Mania, costing ACT that match to set up for our future thing and ACT, EBW storyline, all that stuff. From that moment until Summer Mania, Miano Diaz probably main evented just as much or not more than anybody on the roster at that point. And it wasn't just like Miano Diaz. Obviously, Hunter Houken didn't really need the rub because
No,
he's already doing great things. He's an excellent superstar. That was kind of more of a, I want to put Hunter over, but I also want to come back and
Justin
be able to do
talked
some of the stuff I
wrestling
can't
too
do
a few
with other
months ago.
people.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I got to do the vertebreaker. You've rarely ever seen me do it. I think the last person I did it to was Corey Lee years ago as LOL. ACT, like I said, respect the hell of the guy. And there was absolutely it didn't matter if it didn't matter who would have wrestled before ACT. ACT was always going to get that first win. So if it had been a Chris Jones and Fletcher or Chris Jones and Brogan, ACT was always going to get that first win. And wrestled Aaron Blaze. Shout out to Aaron Blaze once again. I've never had any bad.
He's on an Instagram live right now, so
yeah, I've never had any bad blood with anybody really. A lot of people have shown me respect, and I show them respect in return. Me and Aaron Blaze went out there. I'll give you a little insight. It was kind of to see if what my thoughts were on Aaron Blaze, and you don't get to see it because I think Luke Blaze is standing from him. But Aaron Blaze got a thumbs up after the match. Aaron Blaze is a great superstar, and there's lots of great superstars from other companies out there, but Aaron Blaze got that opportunity, and I was happy that he gets to be probably the only person outside XCW superstar-wise that got to share the ring with me. And don't get me wrong, there's other excellent superstars such as JX. I've met him once at a Jackson Law show. I happened to be there after shooting a no false finish or something. I can't remember what I was shooting, but I got to meet and talk to JX very briefly. Got to meet Jack Delta, talked to him quite a bit. I signed.
He praised you. Actually, he was here 2 weeks ago. You were praised, and he praised you on his Instagram live.
Jack Delta has a flag that he has everybody from the promotions he goes to signs. I got to sign Jack Delta's flag. And I don't know, a lot of the people, I have nothing against Omen Black or any of the IMF guys, anything like that.
You would never mention with them. There was as far as I can be really aware of, there was never.
Yeah, I'm just saying I don't particularly know them because I've not had a lot of interaction with those.
Yeah, I think they've said that.
I want everybody to be able to succeed in what they enjoy doing, and
100%.
For us, that's wrestling.
100%, and I think you've seen an approach back to that on Sportswire, and I think that that's why you've seen new people here getting a chance, and I think that it's in the long run, it's the better, because really it shouldn't be about people. The negativity, it's there, but I think that on Sportswire, you're getting to have new people have an opportunity, and I'm all about opportunity. And if I'm all wrestling matters, how can I be all wrestling matters if I'm denying people an opportunity? So I think that you're seeing a better focus on that. I think people are happier because people know that it's a better environment. And yes, we're about positivity, and I will continue to be about that. And I want to say hello to a guy who wanted to come to XCW once upon a time, but didn't. That's Chase Wakefield. Chase Wakefield, I think he said he wanted to come and didn't come. Who knows? But Chase Wakefield is a good friend. He has been here before. So I guess I got to ask you here in the remaining minutes. So overall, how did you feel about EBW? How did you feel about it? You guys were up, you were down, you were up. I mean, overall, the EBW run, how did you feel?
Well, as brutal as this sounds, I don't think
God.
it held a candle to the first EBW. The first EBW was fresh, came in. We were on top for a long time, beat down multiple people, had the tag team titles. We had 2 killer EBW shows. One of my favorite matches was against a fellow EBW guy at Backyard Bash, me and Austin Chaos for the EBW Championship. You got to see Chris Jones come out to his old Salt and Pepper music. We had the False Count Anywhere match. We wrestled throughout my entire house. I hit Austin with a pie. There was tacos. There was a table inside the house. Just some of the stuff we were able to do in the first run, and ultimately culminated with, the Chris Jones, Corey Lee. The winner is their company is Who's on Top. And we pulled the wool over everybody's eyes because we didn't tell anybody. There might have been 4 or 5 people that knew what the outcome of that match was. And James Cerebral being the most loyal EBW member besides Chris
I know,
Jones.
he's
James
probably
Cerebral
still got his EBW shirt on right
bleeds EBW. To see the shock on James Cerebral's face when I beat Corey Lee originally before the match got restarted, like, obviously everybody thought, EBW, XEW is going to win the end, but to see the shock on people's faces when the announcer started going to like to the end of the show, everybody was shocked that EBW actually got that win. And then, ultimately Emily Moore comes out, restarts the match because Gabe wasn't the actual referee. And ultimately Corey Lee would get that win. But don't take anything away from this EBW run per se. Just first run more impactful. The second run, however, did a lot of stuff that a lot of people won't realize. It's more of a behind-the-scenes stuff. Like I mentioned, Miano Diaz came back, beat him, and then I told him, hey, I want you to be the face. You got to go out. You got to do this title proud and do this opportunity and take this opportunity and run with it. And he did. He main evented so many matches, Brogan O'Shea, Tommy Merriman, just everybody that he wrestled, and he proved that he did. And then there was, the ACT ultimately, struggling, ultimately getting the short end of the stick the entire time. And then finally getting over EBW against Brady Branson in the cage.
Oh, my God.
Finally getting over on EBW.
How emotional.
Yeah, finally getting over on EBW against Chris Jones in a match Chris Jones has never lost. I put him through hell in that match. Like that thumbtack shoe is not a joke. And I made sure I kicked him with it. And then you go to Hunter Houken. Just had nothing to do with the EBW storyline per se, but it was just something that I believe we could go out and tear the house down, and we did. There was a couple times throughout the match that the XCW guys were over on the sides like, oh, did you fucking see that? And that's what we live to do, is to like pop the fans, pop the guys in the back. And we got several fight forever chants. And then, like I said, Aaron Blaze, we went on, never had any interactions before really that match in ring. And we didn't practice nothing. Me and Aaron Blaze just went out there and killed it. I let him give me my own RKO, caught me off the top.
I remember it. I remember it very well. Yep.
Brady Branson never had a one-on-one. And we just went out there and, stalling suplex for about 35 seconds. And just all the stuff we did to each other, just to lay it all out there with the EBW name on the line, essentially. And then, culminating with Justin Parsley. So it falls short of the old EBW storyline, but I'd say probably, if I had to rate it, I'd probably give it like a 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I think that there was some good things. I think it was up, it was down, it was up. There were
We had
times.
a lot of problem keeping the members that were supposed to be there. There's a lot of Hayden Bex went away for a little bit. Then we lost Desmond Cross. So it's like just trying to keep.
Tommy Merriman was in the group for a minute. Remember Tommy
was there for a short time.
That was weird. Your history with Tommy Merriman, that was weird. I think I talked about it on a Sportzwire when we brought back Brogan. I think when Brogan came back, and that was kind of where the moment. I think that was the moment, if you look back, where I think people the ice was broken for people, because okay, if Brogan's here, everything's gonna be all right. And I was like, what happened with that? I mean, Tommy and you with your history, that was just. I mean, Brady. I mean, he did make that point there. I mean, that was He was there for a hot
Tommy
minute.
did stab me, so it's not surprising that people were shocked that he joined EBW. And you look at it like this too. You look at the people that Luke Blaze kind of you would bring into the EBW fold: Brady Branson, Hayden Vex, Tommy Merriman.
Failures.
Were kind of the issues, and not a knock on Luke Blaze. It's kind of funny that it fell that way. The people that Chris Jones brought in, Miano Diaz, and there's no EBW without James Cerebral, were there for like the entire front of EBW. So
yeah,
maybe they should have Luke Blaze.
Well, I have to get Luke onto Sportswire. I think we had like 1 or 2 conversations during the EBW run, and nothing ever came of it. I don't know. I don't remember what it. I don't remember. There was actually in this case there was just nothing. It was like a couple of positive conversations, but there was never. I don't know. There was never anything toward it. It just didn't work out. But yeah, I think there was some good moments. You guys had the world title. You dominated for a while. It was never going to be what the original one. There was no way that you guys could ever have been what the original was.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like you said, your goal was to help the young talent, to help the new, the now. And you did that. Miano Diaz certainly got a world title run. You did a lot, I think, with Brady Branson. Obviously, Brady's been known, but you got him there. I think James Cerebral was James Cerebral. Yeah, I think you were hurt by some of the things, guys in and out of the company. I mean, Tommy Merriman was there, I don't know, it was good, I guess, but it wasn't what you probably, anticipate at the beginning, but it was good. There was some good moments with Tommy Merriman. Not going to lie, Tommy Merriman's always Tommy Merriman. We love Tommy. Tommy's been here.
Yeah.
But, it was what it was. So I guess a 7 out of 10, 7.5. I could go with that. I think that's a fair statement. I think that's where we go from here. Okay, so I guess EBW we've covered. We've talked about the gaming situation. We've talked about where you go from XCW. So, I mean, what's left that you want to talk about with the audience, Mr. Chris Jones, the franchise player?
It's hard to say. I'm better when asked questions.
I'm going to ask one for you because I knew you'd actually have that planned. I mean, so what do you want to say to the people? I mean, I'm assuming we'll sort of maybe still see you on XCW TV. I mean, there's the possibility maybe you could show up or maybe do an XCW special. You talked about that the door is open still in XCW, even though you're not in the XCW locker room. The door is open for anything related to XCW still?
I will say this because if you watch No False Fish, you heard me say it. There is one way I step back in the ring one more time, and you have to go all the way back. I think it's when ACT, I don't know if I had ACT on the show or he was interviewing me or something. I said a long time ago I would come back and do an Ultimate X, but that would be absolutely it.
After what you did, no, but I don't mean ring. I don't mean ring really. I mean in terms of would you do commentating? Would you want to do? I mean, I think the backstage you answer. If you get a gaming job, you're not going to do it. But would there be anything you would do, like anything related to specials, XCW, anything else that would be in a small role? Those types of things. I think basically after what you did in that match with Justin and what you did with Branson, I mean, really, I don't know how you could top that. I suppose you could never say never, but I think realistically speaking, maybe you could still be a part of an XCW special, maybe host a Hall of Fame show, something like that, I guess.
I won't rule any side shows out. I will say there is no plans whatsoever for Chris Jones to ever walk back through the curtain again. However, like if they needed like an extra trainer or something like that, new guys coming in, want to get some extra training in, I'm all for helping out new guys per se, but I have no plans to walk through the curtain again. Side shows, occasionally in the wintertime, that's usually when you get most of the XCW side shows, trying to keep content flowing for the YouTube channel. I know they do. They started Encounters last year to kind of keep wrestling action per se flowing, but we've done stuff like No False Finish. I told Jackson Law if there was ever time he needed an extra guest on like Inception or something like that for an episode, I'd pop on there and talk whatever we want to talk about for Inception. But like with all the different side shows that Josh or Fletch can come up with, or just anybody else that wants to run a sideshow, I'm open for stuff like that. But like the primary focus from here on is more time at home and gaming related. However, sideshows I'm open to discussion. However, I don't want to run or host my own permanent show again.
It's a lot of work. There's no question that there's a lot of work toward it. There's definitely a commitment. You have to do the research. You have to put the time in. You have to be there on that date. And it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. But I think that whatever you want to do, you've earned the right to do anything you want. You have done so much for XCW. You have done so much for this sport. You have been a leader inside and outside the ring. I have no doubt that XCW would benefit exponentially should you ever do anything you want in XCW. And I think you accomplished what you wanted to do. You established guys. Miano Diaz comes to mind. I think really the work you did here with ACT. I think Miano Diaz and ACT benefited most from really what you set out to do. And Justin Parsley, the guy that you had, I think, the best opponent you could have had to end this career, because he's a guy right now you have the most history with, but also he's one of the most like 5 or 6 recognizable wrestlers right now in the circuit. He's a guy, they have this thing called the BYW Hub rankings. He was just ranked like in the top of it. I mean, so to have a match with him, and he's a guy in wrestling, I think that's really, you can't top that almost. You know, I think that's just where you're at. So I guess
one thing I'll say,
I
was going to say, we definitely, and we've talked about this several times, with as many people that are traveling back and forth, Michigan, Iowa, Massachusetts, wherever all these companies are, because I don't particularly know like which company is where per se. There has been, you mentioned recently, some bad blood between people. The more positivity that we can share within, you call it the Underground Wrestling Alliance or whatever.
Yes, I did.
Whatever you call our underground thing. The bigger the platform can grow, because even like, use gaming for an example. If like people are just negative all the time, like people really don't want to see that type of stuff. Like people want to uplift other people and stuff like that. And so like, usually when like there's bad blood, sometimes people can put it behind each other when they work in the ring together, but then there's sometimes it leaks into the ring per se. So I just want to I hope for the future, since Chris Jones isn't in the ring anymore, just hope for the future that our words per se can reach different ears and everybody can succeed in what they want to do with wrestling.
I think that that's well said. Before we move on to final thoughts, and I think that you're right, because truly the short-term views, in the long run, it hurts everybody, because really what you're doing is people are only expecting that instant gratification. They're just wanting bad blood. And truthfully, in the long run, you're not going to win. You're not going to succeed. And I think that's why Sportswire is growing more now, because more people are getting a chance and people are getting away from that. Listen, there's too many problems in this world. You've got wars, you've got debts, you've got people that are dealing with major crises. So to come on here every time and to berate people and shoot on them, I don't think that's the right approach. I think you're getting new people here. You're getting new chances to talk with people. And I really think that that's what wrestling should be about, whether it's an Underground Wrestling Alliance, whether it's a global backyard wrestling network once upon a time, whether it's open collaboration shows. I think that's, to me, the way to go. And I'm going to use my platform to be open about that. And I'm going to support. I'm turning a new leaf. And I think people are appreciating it, because I can tell you, I've seen the screenshots. You've been one of them that has been messaging me about that. And I have more messages now how much they appreciate being here now than when you might have saw, people being here and now you can't wrestle, you can't do it. Somebody saying, no, I think we're moving away from that. It's time to turn. It's the new season of Sportswire Radio. And before I move on, I still want to see Chris Jones back on Sportswire. I still want to see Chris Jones coming onto Sportswire Radio, because you are always welcome, because you are, after all, the franchise player of backyard wrestling. You better believe the franchise player needs to be it, because after all, you had your Sting moment. Sting was the franchise player in our wrestling world. You have been our franchise player in the backyard in the underground wrestling circuit. Anytime you want to be here, anytime you have something to say, you better believe I want Chris Jones here, and I'll drop everything and anything to have you here. We want to see you here. No, it's true. I want to see you here more than every 7 months. I don't want to see you every 6 or 7 months. I want to see you anytime you want, because you have given such a contribution to this circuit, and we all benefit from having you here. So I want to make sure that's known. I know a lot of people have tuned in and out throughout the last hour and a half, and I appreciate those things, and I'm so happy that you got to be here. I'll send you this when we're off the air, but it's time to give you the floor. I have talked enough with you. You're in pain, I'm sure. The dog is barking. Let's give you the floor. Let's give you some closes. I'm going to put up your social media up here one more time so people can get in touch with you. And just thank you so much for all that you've done for us in this circuit. I can't say enough about what it means to me for what you've done to be here tonight. And I pass the baton to you, and the floor is yours.
Well, once again, I appreciate the award. It means a lot to get recognized. The praise is just tremendous from everybody that's throughout 28 years. That's all about the future and what's to come. We got a lot of up-and-coming people. Happy to see what they do. Hopefully the wrestling company communication can get better. And if you've ever wanted to see anything Chris Jones from the early years when I was greener than baby shit to 2024 tearing the house down with Justin Parsley, the XW YouTube channel, you've had it on several times. I've done a lot. Their UIW videos still exist on UIW. You have to find it. Also, they're on the Justin Parsley companies, also on the XCW Extras, I think, the secondary YouTube channel. And I'm always here anytime someone needs advice. I get other people outside XCW who's like, hey, what do you think of this? And they'll send me like a clip or something from their match, or they'll send me their match. And I don't have a lot of free time to watch a lot of stuff, or at least I didn't.
I figured that.
Times are changing. I get a lot more free time nowadays. So anytime anybody wants me to watch something or needs some type of advice, I'm there. And I got a lot of amazing stuff. I did it, like you said, I did a lot of stuff for wrestling. I skipped both my proms to get my pro training when I did. I had a very small stint on the indies. The politics amongst people older than me kind of pushed me back to, the ring in the yard. But 28 years, career spanning 4 decades, kind of speaks for itself, like you've preached before. But if anybody is interested in any of future Chris Jones escapades, so to speak, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, everything is either seen
at Chris LinkedIn? Jones. I gotta follow you on LinkedIn. I gotta connect.
You can find me everywhere.
I gotta get you on LinkedIn. I just realized you're on LinkedIn. I'll have to connect with you on LinkedIn. I actually do. I shared the show on LinkedIn. It's actually on LinkedIn as we speak. So yeah, well, that's really cool. But no, I'm so happy that you said that. Yep.
Follow me everywhere. Trying to spread nothing but positivity, and that even comes to the gaming content. You look at some of like the big stuff, like a lot of big websites that get paid, they need the clicks. Like the big news comes out, like they'll write about it. I tend to allow the other people on the site to write about like the big top hitting news. Sometimes you'll get some of that stuff from me, but a lot of the times I like to write a more like in-depth retrospectives, different types of stuff about stuff I enjoy within gaming, tech, or community. And you'll see I got some upcoming reviews I can't talk about on the air right now because of NDAs, stuff like that. Yes. But lots of big things coming. I do have a big article at the end of the year. I do it every year. Last year I had the voice actor. He has 49 voice credits to his name.
You spoke about
his name escapes me at the moment. Yeah. His big voice acting is Kazuma Kiryu from the Yakuza franchise, the video game franchise. And he's in like Call of Duty. He's in like Persona 3. I'm pretty sure he's in like some animated TV. Yang Yao, that's his name. Found it. Yang Yao. And we've had Jason Ronald, the guy that developed the new Xboxes, the designs and stuff for them. He's been in both articles that I've done the past couple of years. Hopefully to branch out to bigger names. A lot of people think there's a stigma with gaming or wrestling, or we'll say geek type stuff, like even Magic the Gathering or stuff like that. There's a lot of celebrities that get into this stuff, like Post
Sean
Malone's a
Jovi
big-
actually, you want to laugh? Sean Jovi gave up a Magic the Gathering game to stream. He had to go watch me on Sportswire with
Yeah.
Rad Hazard. That was fun.
Yeah, Post Malone is a big ambassador for Magic the Gathering. There's lots of people you would never even picture playing NFL superstars. And even in the gaming space, there's just lots of big names out there that you wouldn't even expect. So the goal is to kill the stigma kind of regarding that type of label around some of this content. So hopefully people enjoy it. Like I said, it usually gets a decent amount of views. Hopefully we can increase that, and we'll see what the future holds.
You just never know. I mean, really, to me, I'm excited about your future, and you've done so many great things in the wrestling world, outside the wrestling world, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it. If you want to follow Chris Jones, he's on Instagram, he's on Threads, he's on X, LinkedIn, Facebook. Just go out and follow this man. He is truly an inspiration to all of us. He is a man that conducts himself the right way, and we're so happy that we are doing that on Sportswire. We are doing the good work for the people. That's what it's about. We're going to continue that work. Holden Holloway is here tomorrow. More XCW coverage. I know another one of the young guys you probably only been in the locker room with for a hot minute, but he's here. And Remy Ravage was here. What an inspirational story that was. And, Justin Parsley's always here. He doesn't count, but it's so good to have XCW people here on Sportswire. Very happy about that. And I'm really happy that we have great people around like Chris Jones here anytime that he wants. And my friend, I hope you feel better. I know you're obviously battling with a cold. I feel like I've taken enough of your time up here, and I definitely look forward to seeing you soon. And congratulations on just an amazing, amazing career. And if this is it, I think there's no better way anybody in this sport could have gone out the way that you did. I can't wait to see what the future is. I pray for you that job works out if it does. And XCW, I know, is always going to be a home anytime you want to do anything in XCW. Fletch is a good man at the end of the day, and I think that he realizes and he knows that you've always been there for him, and I'm sure he would obviously want to have a place for you. So we'll certainly, I'm sure, keep an eye on that. And thank you for all that you do for us, and I look forward to seeing you here very soon.
Thanks once again, Tom. Appreciate it.
You got it. That was Chris Jones, of course, the legendary 11-time world champion, 2-time Hall of Famer. He was the man behind EBW, but he just wrestled what appears to be his final match against Justin Parsley, the first real wrestler, the PWF champion, in a fatal fallout main event in XCW Shelbyville, a historic show which is closing in on 500 views alone already. It's a match everybody's talking about. Chris Jones has shown that he continues to be the GOAT. He continues to be at the top of the Mount Rushmore. He is our franchise player, not only in XCW, but also the backyard underground wrestling circuit. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice, figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters. If you're on Sportswire Radio, you're going back to your regular scheduled programming. I'll be back here at 9:30 p.m. tomorrow with Holden Holloway of XCW, and I'm here twice Monday. Stay tuned for details on who they are, because one of them is CJ Junt of the Backyard Wrestling Nexus and legendary Backyard Wrestling. So excited about all of that. But until then, thank you so much, everybody, for all of your support. And I can't wait to be back here. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, on the number one global variation that is Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters. And congratulations to XCW on 1,600 subscribers. Links below. Go follow XCW. See everybody tomorrow.